Welcome to Law Help Australia, where we keep you informed and safe with tips and updates. We have a very special discussion for you today. We're going to be joined by Premier Lawmaker of the State, Attorney-General Martin Pakula, and the Law Institute of Victoria's President Katie Miller. We'll have a look at that first, and then we'll be joined by Dinesh Weerakkody of D Legal to talk about the issues and the Australian Border Force and their checking of visas on the streets of Melbourne. Let's have a look at the interviews.
Today I'm reporting from the President's Lunch of the Law Institute of Victoria at RACV Club. Last year, just before the general elections, we've discussed about the multiculturalism and the state of the law of Victoria. The then Attorney-General, Honourable Robert Clark, Telmo Languila, the current Speaker, and the then President of the Law Institute participated. Today, we have the Premier Lawmaker in the state of Victoria, Honourable Martin Pakula, and joined by the President of the Law Institute of Victoria, Katie Miller.
Hi, Dinesh.
Katie, before we start, can I ask you, give us a little bit of an introduction in relation to the Law Institute and also about the President's Lunch, please?
So the Law Institute of Victoria is the peak body for lawyers in Victoria, and essentially we help lawyers in their day-to-day practice through things like education events and also networking. But there's more to legal practice than just the day-to-day, and we encourage our lawyers to come to events like the President's Lunch so they can hear from inspirational and influential speakers in the legal profession.
So what do you have in mind to ask the Attorney-General today?
We have a range of questions that we're going to ask. The Attorney has very generously agreed to do a Q&A style event with us. So we have a range of questions on things like access to justice, sentencing policy, but also I think some questions about who the man is behind the Attorney and what makes him tick.
All right. Can I ask Martin, your government has announced a 50-50 male-female policy for future judicial appointments. You have also foreshadowed the selection panel for magistrates and VCAT tribunal members. Tell us a bit about your thoughts in relation to that.
Well, look, Dinesh, I'm pleased to say that in relation to the 50-50 policy, we've achieved that so far. Of all of the appointments that we've made, I think slightly more than 50% have been women, and we think it's important that the bench, whether it's the Magistrates Court right up to the Supreme Court, reflects more closely the society that it serves rather than merely the profession from which it's drawn. And I think that we'll have great appointments to all of the levels of the court system by applying this policy. There is no difference in my mind between this policy and a concept of the best lawyers for the job. We can do both, and that's exactly what we're doing. We have put in place a panel now for the Magistrates Court and VCAT. That panel started meeting, and from now on appointments to both the Tribunal and the Magistrates Court will go through that panel. The final decision will rest with myself and Cabinet, but we will have a really strong and solid vetting process for those courts.
At Law Help Australia, we believe there is a gap between the representation in the judiciary for communities from multicultural background. What are your thoughts in relation to that?
Well, look, this is also something that the government has an eye to, and obviously, it's not really that simple because you're drawing from the profession, and the profession is still, to a large extent, Anglo-Saxon. But we have, in the last couple of weeks, appointed Charles Tan to the Magistrates Court. I think that's an important step. Charles will make a great magistrate. In fact, I met with the Chief Magistrate yesterday and already showing great signs, and he's an exceptional, experienced barrister. But to have multicultural communities see themselves reflected from the bench is also an important step. It's not something that you can rush, but it's something that we clearly have an eye to.
Right. The government has appointed former LIV CEO Michael Brett Young to review the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities and report back to you by the 1st of September, I believe. The LIV has made some submissions to the review and held successful events to discuss just last month, Katie, I think. Without preempting your review, is a Charter of Human Rights important to good government and to Victorians? What are your thoughts?
Look, I certainly think it is. It was the former Labor government and former Attorney-General Hulls that instituted the Charter. The review is important. We made a commitment to do an independent review rather than one by a parliamentary committee, and Mike Brett-Young is being ably assisted by Melinda Richards, Crown Counsel, a well-known human rights silk. The Charter, I think its most important role is about building a culture within government and within government agencies about respecting people's human rights and embedding that culture within all of the decision-making processes. So people have expressed concerns about it being very legalistic and about causing, delays in court. None of that's happened. It's really been about engendering a culture of human rights within government, and what I'm hoping that the review will do, and I expect to get their report within the next couple of weeks, is just tell the government ways that it can be made more effective and it can be made more efficient, and I'm sure that's what the work will do.
Thank you.